Good morning, everybody. It's time for another early morning book review. And today we will be reviewing Silverwood by Deirdre Rowan. And this was a little vintage. So let me get you a copyright date on it. Hold on, let me find it just a sec. 1974. So a little later than I normally like my vintage, but it was a pretty good one. Now, here's our premise. Stay with me on this one. So in Silverwood, we have our main character, Lynette, and she's an American, and she's been over in London playing for an orchestra. And she had an affair with the orchestra director, and she found out he was married. And the orchestra director was like, well, I don't know why you're getting so upset, because I have affairs with everybody. I just do it all the time. And Lynette's like, no, that's not going to be my life. I'm not going to do that. So she answers an ad in the paper. Excuse me, let me try to adjust my hair here. She answers an ad in the paper for someone to teach the harp, which is what Lynette plays. Now, that's kind of a big coincidence that you would need a job as a harp player, and there is something in the newspaper to where somebody's wanting to hire a harp tutor. So she goes to Silverwood, and the reason they call it as a Silverwood is they have all these beautiful silver aspens. You guys have seen them, and they are silver on the underside of the leaf, and they blow and everything like that, and it's beautiful. So it's this beautiful, beautiful manor house. It's not creepy at all. It's beautiful, and she meets Dame Isolde. And Dame Isolde wants her to teach her 13-year-old grandson the harp. And Lynette is very upfront as we're all sitting there reading this. I mean, I'm sitting there reading this going, that's going to be a tough sell. That's going to be a hard sell. But she agrees to it because she doesn't want her work visa revoked, and so she agrees to it. And there's a lot of, first off, it was very good Gothic. I gave it a 4 stars. There's a lot of that twin trope in it. We have a lot of twins. We're talking about a lot of twins. Now, Dame Isolde, she has a secretary by the name of Kate, who, if I was cast in the movie, I would make Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate, because she has that sort of tall, stately, blonde look to her and everything like that. She's not trashy at all. She's beautiful. So she has a secretary, Kate, and Dame Isolde was an opera singer, but she became blind, which prevented her from singing opera. Now, I don't know exactly the correlation, but maybe she couldn't find her way on the stage and everything like that. I don't know. So she's a blind, failed opera singer. And the father, her husband, is a drunkard. And he has been kind of sealed off in part of this mansion because she just doesn't want to deal with them. She just doesn't want to deal with the whole drunkard part and everything like that. So she sealed him off there, and there are not one, but 2 dwarf servants. Yes, I said it. They're dwarfs. And we have Cedric and Jock. And Cedric is assigned to Dame Isolde, and he sleeps at the foot of her bed, like in a little dog bed. It is so freaking weird. And then Jock is assigned to the father, who we never really get his name. But the father will get drunk and go walking on the ramparts on the top of the house and everything like that. And so they have a son. And the son's name is, and I'm going to pronounce it, Amleth? Amleth? How would you say that? Amlyth. Amleth. And Amleth was one of the best Gothic male characters I have read in a long time. He's very Mr. Rochester-like. Not so much that he's mysterious, but he's very kind of vicious and mean. And he's vicious and mean to Lynette. And he at one time was going to marry Kate. And Lynette asks him about the relationship with Kate. And does he still love her and everything like that. And he says in the book, and for 1974, I thought this was pretty racy. He says in the book, he said, Kate was simply sex and proximity. I was at home. I wanted sex. She was right there. I never intended to marry her. And it all got confused because my mother wanted us to get married and she threw an engagement party and he shows up at the engagement party and says, there's no engagement. I've never asked her to marry me and we're not going to get married. So Kate, of course, hates his guts. And he kind of hates Kate's guts too. And so there's a little conflict there and everything. But the father mysteriously falls off of the roof because Amleth comes back and says, you can't have my dad, who is drunk 90% of the time, sealed off in another part of the house because you don't want to deal with him, and then walking the ramparts at night without even a rail. He's going to fall off. And Dame Isolde is like, oh, you make me sound like the Wicked Witch. He hasn't fallen off. It's just not my concern. If somebody wants to be a drunk, they can be a drunk on their own time. Not going to be a drunk on my time. So sure enough, he falls off. But people see Jock, the little dwarf, by him when he falls off. Now, what's another interesting thing about the two dwarfs is that Cedric, Dame Isolde's dwarf, is always wearing black, and Jock, the father's dwarf, is always wearing red. And that comes to focus at the end of the book and everything like that. And then we have David, the whole relationship with David, who is the grandson, who actually, he doesn't want to play the harp, but he gets convinced into playing the harp by his grandmother, who he adores. His grandmother's name is Megan, which I thought was it was like a young name for an old woman. She's a very interesting character. She wears this purple shawl. She's very regal-like. The ending was complicated. It was a complicated ending. Again, a lot of twin stuff going on. And the twin stuff had to happen for the ending to be the ending. That didn't make any sense. But what I'm trying to say is that I could tell that the author of this book, and like I said, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. The author of this book knew where she was going from the beginning. Sometimes you have those books where all of a sudden, and then this happens, and then that happens, and it's all coincidence and everything like that. This was all played out, and you knew when you got to the end, like I didn't guess the end, but when you got to the end, it made sense. It was ridiculous. It was far-fetched. But at the same time, you were like, oh, well, I kind of get it. I sort of get it. So anyway, great Gothic. It was a great Gothic. And I think the thing that made it such a great Gothic was Hamlet. I guess it's like Hamlet without the H. But Amleth was a superior male Gothic character because he wasn't doing that, I love you, Lynette, but I can't be with you. He was like mean to her. And, and then and ignored her and everything like that. Oh, Twitch is up here and I'm almost done. Twitch, stop. Hold on to this a second. Wait a minute. Just a second. Anyway. Great book, Silverwood, Deirdre Rowan, excellent Gothic, excellent, excellent. Watch out for twin dwarves, that's all I gotta tell you. So, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. and I will check you later.